I've had this feel-good commercial idea in my head for a few months now, and I really wanted to get it shot before winter came around. I wanted to make it a spec ad and attach it to a brand. It didn't really need to have anything to do with the brand because it's about promoting a feeling rather than a product. I created a treatment around the idea of a couple being playful and messing around, then having a picnic on the hill with a lovely golden sunset behind them. I just needed to attach a brand. I spoke to Ethan, my BTS and right and left hand man, and he had the unbelievable idea of attaching Jacobs to the commercial. I absolutely loved the idea and thought, yeah, why not, that'll work. I sent the treatment out to see who was interested, and all I had to do was wait. I landed on a lovely woman called Tess, who fit the role perfectly. I just needed a male actor to act as a couple. She suggested a husband, which worked perfectly as the chemistry was already there. Everything was set. The day of filming arrived, and it was torrential rain all day. I wanted a lovely sunset and golden skies, but the UK weather had better ideas. I called Ethan and was like, what should we do? Should we cancel, change the idea and quit being a filmmaker and sell all our gear? No. The talents were all in their way down, so we agreed, let's go ahead with it and just see what we can create in these horrible conditions. So we did, and this is what we made. That whole commercial was shot on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K on the 18-35 Sigma 1.8 with no ND or ProMist filter because they broke while filming. These things happen. As you saw in the intro, I really wanted sunny and golden sky conditions, but it was raining. So I was actually worried that we had changed the idea and we were set on this rainy concept with both actors being like soaking wet, that it just wasn't going to rain. It was just going to be cloudy and no rain whatsoever. So I'm glad that it rained. And when I wanted it to rain, I wanted it to rain. Like I wanted it to be torrential because I didn't want to just half-assed it and just it be cloudy. So we literally had 1 hour to shoot this commercial because we got there a little bit later. And because it was so cloudy, it was going to get darker quicker. So we literally had 1 hour. It's one of those moments you could easily crumble and almost give in to the pressure. Because it's not the original idea you had, you're not as passionate about it because it's not how you saw it in your head. But you've got two very talented people that have driven very far to come and do this project with you. And it's about not letting them down and not letting them know that you are secretly inside bricking it. And I was just determined to make this commercial as best as it possibly can be, even though every single idea went out the window. This is an example of one of the most important lessons, that not everything is going to be in your control. And sometimes you just need to think on your feet. A big factor of this commercial that I wanted to get across right from the start was chaos. I really wanted heavy camera movements to go along the ground and run behind the couples, but you can still see what's going on. And it is quite hard to do, but you just have to let the weight of the rig take over and let gravity do its thing. Just really go with the momentum of the camera and not try and control it too much. Like really just let the camera stabilize itself with the amount of weight you have on the rig. Now I have my camera pretty rigged up, so it is very heavy. So I can do this quite well because of the weight of it. I filmed the whole thing 18mm, so super wide, and I really saw that look for this commercial. I made a big point to the talents that I really wanted high energy. I really wanted that playful feeling. To make it a feel-good commercial, you really need the talents to pull through and show that they're having a good time. And I'm so glad Tess and her husband did that because it made the video so much better. And they were both absolutely amazing throughout the whole process. I really wanted the camera movement and their high energy to complement each other, so they both had to go hand in hand. I sourced the track in the video from Epidemic Sounds. I've used all my songs from Epidemic Sounds and I absolutely love the site. I actually got this original idea from finding the track. It's one of those rare instances that I come up with the idea from listening to the song. And I suppose that's a quick tip to anyone out there that's struggling with motivation and inspiration, is go onto websites like Epidemic and just listen to a bunch of songs and try and visualize what you see happening in that song, and you will naturally just come up with concepts. For the color grade on this one, I really want it to be kind of dark and almost have those blue shadows and orange highlights. and let that be the contrast. But that original idea went out the window when it started raining, so I couldn't really get across the grade I really wanted to, but I still want it to have somewhat of a vibrant element while still having some dark tones. A cool effect that actually happened, that I was hoping to happen, that actually did, was the rain splatters on the lens. That was just naturally, as I was running around with my rig, following Tess and her husband, the raindrops were just falling on the lens, and it created like this really nice look to emphasize the fact it was raining. And it kind of goes back to my original point that I was hoping it to be torrential rain. Like, if it's going to rain, I want it to rain. I had this plastic bag around my rig to hopefully just stop any damage happening, because with the Blackmagic, everything is exposed with the external SD, and all the inputs are exposed. There's nothing covering them. So I wrapped it up with a plastic bag, and it actually stayed intact the whole video, which is probably the most makeshift thing I've ever done, but it worked a treat. It was probably the most chaotic commercial I've ever done, and probably the quickest one I've ever done, with the idea completely going out the window. So it was definitely an experience, but I was pretty confident when we were actually shooting that we were getting good stuff, and the shots that I wanted to get and what I kind of saw originally in my head. The main thing we had to change was I really wanted them to sit on top of the hill, having their picnic, but we had to revert that to them running back to the car and then having it in the car, which isn't as strong as an ending as I wanted, because I really want the sunset to play a big part. But again, you got to think on your feet. That's what we come up with in the short time frame we had in between leaving to actually shooting the project. Location wise, I actually shot this location before, like a year ago, and I did a photo shoot there. And it's always been in the back of my mind, because the scenery and looking out from the window looks amazing, especially with the sunset coming through. And it's just it's a cool object to have in the video, like a big windmill in the background. Like, it's very wholesome. It's a unique thing to have in the backdrop. So I was really excited to film there. Again, different idea, because it was absolutely tipping it down. It would have looked nicer with the sunset behind. Hey ho. From the very start, and even in the pre-planning stages, I knew I really wanted to have sound effects and have a really strong sound design with them laughing and giggling, and the sound of the picnic blanket getting pulled out in front of the camera, the sound of their footsteps running, and just really trying to immerse the audience in the commercial. And again, the whole point of it is to promote a feeling, and I really wanted that feeling of loviness and playfulness to really get through into the commercial. And I sliced up the music quite a bit. I split it up into 3 chunks, so it's that whole song doesn't play like that. I had to split it up so the pacing of the video was right. And I actually had the commercial originally at like 32 seconds, but I had to extend that because the ending was too short. There wasn't enough of the car shots at the end. Now I think there's just enough. And that was something I had to overcome in the editing process, was just extending the commercial out a little bit. It's a little bit longer than I thought I originally had planned, but to make the story more effective, I had to add those clips at the end. There is a couple of things I would change in the commercial now, but that's just, you're going to get that with every commercial you do, with coming back, editing it, and then thinking, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. But it's just about adding those things into the next project you do, and then hopefully each one will become better. But if there's any comfort in that, to know that just not everything goes right on a shoot, and especially when you can plan as much as you want, not everything is going to go right. And I think that is definitely an important thing to remember, that you're just not going to have control of every element, and you do just have to think on your feet. It was definitely an experience, and I will be taking it into the next commercial and trying to control more elements, but you're just never going to be able to control everything. And I do just want to say a big thank you to Tess and her husband for making the journey down to do the video, and I really appreciate you guys sticking out in the wet weather, and I apologise that it's not how we originally intended the video to be, but what can we do? Like I said, you can't control every element, and you just got to think on your feet. And a big thank you to Ethan for being the glue to this project and doing all the BTS and just keeping me calm when I needed it. But I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you soon.